Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 82. When we last left our heroes, Selene and Suzaku started their fight. We learned that Suzaku ate the Sword Saint Dragon Kurnugi, and is now a Sword Saint Dragon Slayer, which again seems kind of a more specific and stronger version of Kiria's Blade Dragon Slayer magic. Specifically, it seems just like there's something about his unsheathing I think is important. But meanwhile, the battered Team Natsu was on the run from Mimi and Hakune, and they got the briefest of respites when Toka came in with an Aqua Era, warping them to the Whiteout Village. It did not last long, though, as Mimi and Hakune found them, and that's where we left off, with Gray and Lucy battered, but in a better shape than Natsu and Urza right now, as Mimi and Hakune, and Selene getting serious against Suzaku. So here we are with Chapter 82, Revenge Match. And our picture here is of Kagura, unsheathing her sword. The cutting blade has been brandished. We open in Earthland, in the town of Ermina. Okay. Haven't been there in a while. And I think that's the hotel guy from the beginning of 100 Years Quest. No way, no way! I think that was his girlfriend, right? It's been a while since that arc. I've forgotten some of the minor players in it. Just calm down for a bit. And we see the water is like rising. It's like flooding. There's no way I can calm down. The great water god shouldn't be able to use his powers, and yet this storm surge. What is happening? Merphobia and, what was his assistant's name? So it reminded me of like Caramel. Let me see if I can how fast I can find it. I got no idea. I might remember, I might not. But anyways, assistant turns to him. Mursama, could it be your powers the water dragon god is? And Merphobia stops her. No, this isn't my power. It's Selene. The moon dragon god? I was sure she was in a different world. Oh, it's tides! It's the tide! Because when Selene got serious last time, she made the moon big, which is affecting the tides, even in different worlds. Anyway, I was sure she was in a different world. Yeah, she is. So her power is reaching this world from another one? Such as the power of a dragon they call a god. Most of my power was lost. While Alderaan did not awaken completely and wasn't at his original power. But Selene is different. She is a dragon god with her original power intact. Oh yeah, so Selene must be like much stronger than Merphobia, who got most of his powers stolen by Ferris, and Alderaan, who wasn't fully awake yet. Yeah, that's... It kind of goes to show that she is the strongest god yet. And his assistant looks at him, and Merphobia continues, but what scares me even more is that I don't know what her goal is. Right, because so far she's just kind of implied her goal is what? Conquering Elantir, a little bit of chaos with Alderaan. I don't know. Anyway, we come back to the other world Elantir at Black Moon Mountain, with the moon now huge against the backdrop of the mountain, as Selene and Suzaku stare each other down. And Selene starts, the moon wanes like a swift wind, and Suzaku puts his hand on his blade. Moonlight blade! And blades of moonlight, to state the obvious, run towards Suzaku, and Suzaku, startled, moves to unsheath his sword, and seemingly deflects them. And then he cuts, we see these cut after images, and I think they're Suzaku's. I think he's created that. But interestingly, normally when Suzaku does his thing, he'll have unsheathed his sword already. But here, the sword is still out, and Suzaku is kind of stunned. Such speed! And Selene grins and points at him, and cuts his shoulder. Gah! Impossible! I avoided in time! But with that one hit, Selene just keeps him coming. Gah! Gah! And Selene taunts him, dance, human. Dance madly to the moon's magic power. And Suzaku kind of rights himself, and says, Kurnugi style, sword drawing art. Underworld cycle. And he goes to unsheath the sword again. But Selene counters, Moonlight palm. And there's this explosion that takes up basically the entire space between them. And this, like, pillar of light between them. Suzaku definitely takes the brunt of that blast. Goes flying. Gwah! But he rights himself and resheaths his sword. Formidable. You were this strong, moon dragon god? And Selene taunts him, that flash of your sword, it takes me back, actually. It's as if I'm fighting Konogi himself. However, this next attack will end this. So what was the relationship between Konogi and Selene? Because it seems like they fought in the past. And that kind of goes to the question of this chapter title, Revenge Match. Like, what is the revenge match in question? Because my impression was that the revenge match might refer to someone like Lucy and Mimi or Gray and Hakune, but so far over half of the runtime has been spent on Suzaku and Selene, or maybe not quite half yet because of that bit back in Ermina, but still we're over halfway through the chapter and it's just been dealing with Selene. So is there some kind of revenge Selene desires towards Konogi that's just kind of, substituting Suzaku for? I don't know. Anyway, we come back to the Whiteout Village. Maybe this will be our revenge match. As Hakune tells the gathered people, like Selene-sama's banquet, we expect to have a good time. Mimi shouts, let's rid ourselves of them all at once. And Lucy drops our title line. Looks like this is a revenge match. And Gray kind of cracks his knuckles. Fairy Tail doesn't lose twice to the same guys, Let's go, Lucy. Yeah! But Wendy tells them, I can't let my hands off of Natsu and Urza while I'm healing them. I'm counting on you. And Ferris tries to pull the Elder away. Grand White Priestess, this way. And the Elder tells her, huh? Even though the hunk is battling? And Carla just snaps at her. Just do as you're told and stay out of the way. And Toka kind of whispers to Happy, Carla-sama doesn't go easy, even on those in positions of power, does she? Right? And Carla, snaps back at the two exceeds. And Hakune taunts Gray, who's focusing on her. Now then, won't you please freeze once more? And Gray readies an Ice Maker spell. This time, you're the one who's gonna freeze. And they both seemingly use their magic on each other, a kind of a stalemate there. We see a few shards of ice, but there's nothing really happening in the middle of them. And then Lucy turns to Mimi, runs up at her, yeah, Lucy kick! And she kicks Mimi right in the face, and it does nothing, as Mimi taunts, that won't work. And Lucy swaps into her Leo star dress. Leo form! Regulus Lucy kick! And she kicks her again, this time with light. That won't... Whoa, it's bright. It's at least it's so bright it's kind of blinding Mimi a little bit. And Lucy summons Gemini. Gemini! PD. And then they both... I think both Gemini turn into a separate Lucy, I think? Or as Lucy turned into what looks like a Scorpio form, I mean. Whereas Gemini Lucy is just in a bikini, it looks like. Double Lucy kick! And that is actually starting to do some damage. Not a whole lot of damage, but it's not like that first Lucy kick where Mimi didn't move. She's at least kind of knocked back. But then she says, wait, is kicking the only technique in your repertoire? And aren't you just putting your own name in your attacks? How plain! And Lucy kind of can't even respond to that. But then Mimi thinks, no, perhaps. And then she copies Lucy. Mimi kick! And Lucy does not fare as well as Mimi did. Gah! And Lucy is sent flying. Gemini calls Lucy. But Lucy tells her, I'm fine. But Mimi runs at her. No, you're not. Mimi hurricane! And Mimi spins and basically flies towards Lucy. Lucy transforms, Virgo form, and uses Virgo to dive underground. She disappears, and Lucy reappears right under her, shocking Mimi from finishing that sentence. Speak up, Lucy, punch! And she pops up from underground, hits Mimi, maybe just because Mimi was not, like, on the ground. It does a good bit of at least knockback to her. Mimi reacts, punches too? But Mimi lands on the ground, dirtied up now, but still pretty, in good shape. Your movement is different from before. What could have possibly happened in such a short time? And Lucy kind of takes a moment before saying, it's because I got to see a very important friend again. You might have noticed before, I'm me. Even if I'm weak, I won because everyone was with me. And Mimi kind of reacts, is that how she sees herself? Mimi, shock! To be continued, next time. Okay, let's open with the Selene Suzaku fight, with our discussion. Because there's not a lot, like, emotionally to dig into here, given that these are two characters we just really don't have any real connection to. I mean, at least we know some of what Selene has done to Ferris and Elantir in general. But, like, this isn't, like, a long-standing rivalry with a character we care about. This isn't a revenge match like we had in the back half. This is just sort of two incredibly powerful, characters going all out at each other. And it's cool. It's cool to see. If 100 Years Quest ever gets an anime, I'd be very excited to see this in animation. But it's not a whole lot to really kind of pick apart. It's fun. It's action-packed. And it gives us a Mercphobia cameo again, which is nice. And I like the sort of science behind, the larger moon makes the seas rise. But the bulk of the chapter and where it gets its title comes from the back half, where Lucy and Gray take on Mimi and Hakune, and we only get very little of Gray and Hakune. The bulk of the back half is spent on Lucy and Mimi, as Lucy, using using a bevy of tricks, starts to deal some damage to Mimi. Unlike last time where Mimi was basically untouched by fight's end, Mimi's taking damage. Not a lot of damage, but still damage. We see just a regular kick that does basically nothing, the Regulus kick, and then a Gemini tag team. And then, while a kind of smart move on Lucy's part, while Mimi is not really grounded to anything, hit her with an uppercut from underground, to at least knock her back. Again, Mimi is still very much, not injured, and like you can see the sort of dirt on their faces as kind of a sign. At the start, if you look at page 16, when Lucy does that kick, there's not really any dirt on her face, especially in that top left panel, or on page 13 when Mimi first shows up. But by chapter's end, she's gotten a few hits, she's a little dirtied up. Whereas Lucy starts the fight, still kind of recovering from her fight with the yokai, and is not exactly in a great spot. But she's still finding ways to do some damage, using the strength of knowing people believe in her, and that people like to make fun of friendship, but it's those bonds that have always made these characters strong. And we're seeing that with Lucy. Just a reminder that Aquarius is here, and that bond is still in play in Elantir. Gives her the strength to fight on. It's not doing a lot of damage, but it's doing some damage, which is nice. So yeah, next time, I don't know where we're going to focus next. We could continue with Lucy and Mimi. We could go back to Gray and Hakune, maybe some Suzaku and Selene. But I'm excited to see wherever Mashima takes us next. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!